Hello, Dr. Joe here. So, inside this very bottle here, I have got instant coffee. I am not a coffee enthusiast for reasons that I talked about in my book. By the way, the second edition of this very book will be out in a couple of weeks. I've done my bit. My bit is done and dusted. It's now in the press and it should be out in a couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for it because I've got more stuff inside the second edition than I have in here. Anyway, back to coffee. So the question is this, for you guys who are coffee enthusiasts, what has coffee, heart disease, and longevity got in common? We're going to be answering that very question in this very video. And towards the end of the video, I'm also going to let you know the one thing that you must do to safeguard yourself as far as coffee consumption is concerned. How about we get started then? So yes, we're going to be looking at how to reduce your risk of heart disease from coffee consumption. And we are going to look at it from the point of view of two studies. This is the first one. It was published in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology in December 2020. And it had the title, Coffee Consumption and Mortality from Cardiovascular Diseases and Total Mortality. Does the brewing method matter? So, what they did in this very study was they took 500,000 adults and followed them up for 20 years. Okay, follow them up for 20 years. And the objective was to examine the link between coffee consumption and death risk. So, what did they find in this large cohort study that lasted 20 years? Well, the first thing they found was that people who drank filtered or both filtered and unfiltered coffee had a lower risk of dying from any cause compared to non-coffee drinkers. So essentially, they were saying here, in summary, that coffee drinkers had a lower risk of death compared to those of us who don't drink coffee. Okay, so that was the first finding. The other finding was, it was a little bit more nuanced. What they found was that filtered coffee was best. And this was especially true for women and also those drinking filtered coffee. Okay, so if you were a woman or if you drank filtered coffee, then your risk of death was much lower. So that leads us to the fact that unfiltered coffee drinkers had a slightly higher risk of cardiovascular death. So that's essentially what they were saying, that unfiltered coffee raised your risk of dying from cardiovascular disease, basically. So overall, the conclusion being that filtered coffee seemed to be the healthiest option. So fast forward, what happened next was this paper that was published just a few weeks ago with the title Cafe Store and Cow Oil Concentrations in Workplace Machine Coffee Compared with Conventional Brewing Methods. And what they did in this very study was they took coffee samples from Swedish workplaces and they compared them to home brewed coffee. And what they were doing in this very study was they were testing both sets of coffee for diterpene concentrations. That's what they did. And what did they find? Well, they found that most coffee from workplace brewing machines contain higher diterpene concentrations compared to paper filtered coffee, but lower than unfiltered coffee. So essentially, what they're saying here is that filtered coffee was best, unfiltered coffee was second best, and coffee from offices was somewhere in the middle in terms of diterpene concentrations. So this study is also emphasizing the fact that filtered coffee seem to be the best in terms of reducing your risk of dying from heart disease. And they concluded that intake of insufficiently filtered coffee during working hours could be an overlooked factor for cardiovascular health due to its effect on
plasma cholesterol concentrations. So this is the crux of the matter. Cholesterol concentrations, the way you prepare your coffee can influence the cholesterol concentration in your body after consuming the coffee. So, what are these offending diterpenes that raise cholesterol? They are caffeine and caweol.
So, what's the one thing you must do to safeguard yourself as far as coffee consumption is concerned? Well, because when you do this, it makes all the difference between whether your coffee consumption is being beneficial to you or potentially harming you. So, what's the one thing you must do? Well, it is that you must use unbleached coffee paper filters. Okay, let me repeat that. You must use unbleached coffee paper filters. The reason for the unbleached keyword there is the fact that there's less processing involved and you have less chemicals in there, because the whole idea behind using the paper filter is to protect you by filtering out those diterpenes, you know, the caffeine and the caweol that I talked about earlier on in the presentation. You filter them out because those are the compounds that potentially can raise your LDL cholesterol levels, thereby also potentially causing you heart disease. So you want to filter them out, and the less chemicals you have in the filter itself, the better. Make sense? So that's the one thing you must do. So do let me know, by the way, are you a coffee enthusiast? How do you brew your coffee? Do let me know in the comment section. Or are you someone who is indifferent to coffee, just like me? Also, do let me know in the comment section. So hopefully you got some value from this very video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please like the video, and also please share this video with your friends, family, and colleagues. Any questions, any comments, do leave them down below. That's it for this video. Until next time, well, this is Dr. Joe signing out.